Hello, lovers. Welcome to the seductive side of the internet. I am Miss Kimmykins, your hostess for Sinsual Saturdays. This is a safe place for listeners to send in their submissions, sharing tantalizing tales of seduction and pleasure. You can choose to remain anonymous. We respect everyone's right to share their experiences in peace. You can send your submissions to Miss Kimmykins 722 at gmail.com. That's MISSKIMMYKINS 722 at gmail.com. Whether you're into crushing or squirting, role play or foot fetish, or something a little more on the edge, we have something for everyone. Get comfortable, lovers, and join me for a peek behind the curtain that separates regular life from fantasy. Allow yourself to be overtaken by your desires. Let go of the stresses of the day and free your mind. Sink into the depths of the forbidden, a place where the ultimate pleasures are found. Give me your ear and your undivided attention, and let's slip into sensual Saturday. Tonight's submission comes from yours truly. Yes, lovers, Miss Kimmykins has some interesting experiences to share. This happened a few years ago, a different time, and a very different Miss Kimmykins. I was meeting a friend out of town to assist him with some personal matters, which town I will not say. I arrived at my hotel and had to wait in line to check in because there were quite a few people checking in at the same time. There was a gentleman that walked in at about the exact moment I did, and we both approached the front desk. Now, I know that this is beginning to sound like something out of some fantasy or even one of those cheesy pornos that you would watch on xnxx.com. Not sponsored, by the way. But I guarantee you, lovers, this really happened. This is my life. And Miss Kimmykins has had some very exciting experiences. But let's get back to this one, shall we? Now, he politely allowed me to go ahead of him, and I thanked him for his gesture of kindness. Our eyes met briefly, and it was just long enough for me to catch something in his eyes. I finished up my business at the desk. I turned to tell him thank you, and I walked away and headed to the elevator. I pushed the button to go up to my floor, and by the time my hand was off the button, he was next to me, quietly telling me hello and asking where I was from. Now, lovers, this man, even as I talk about it, I can see him in my head. I can smell his cologne right now. He was handsome, very tall, probably about 6'4", 6'5". He had a toasted pecan complexion. He was muscular. Not the type I usually go for, but under the circumstances, I was okay with it. The vibe I was getting from him, unexplainable, but let me just say that I knew that there was something between us, and I knew that something was going to happen. He was a visitor to the area, just like me. He was Cuban. I would learn a little ways down the line. He was professionally dressed. He had on a sport coat, button-down shirt, some very nice dress pants, and for some reason, I was very attracted to the boots he had on. They were ostrich, expensive, very well kept, but something about them gave me a very strong, almost dominating type of vibe. And that cologne, that cologne smelled so good and was so intense in a good way. It filled my nostrils and it tempted me into dirty thoughts while he kind of fumbled his words, trying to make polite conversation before I got off the elevator. He complimented my hair, told me how beautiful and curly it was, and he moved his hand as though he were going to reach out to touch it, but he didn't. He put his hand back down at his side. So the elevator stops on my floor, but before I got out, he asked me to have a drink with him that evening. Now, we all know where this can go. And I already knew that he was going to invite me to his room. It wasn't the type of drink that we were going to be having in a bar or a restaurant. But that was fine by me, because what happens when you're out of town stays out of town. So I handed him my business card and told him to give me a call when he was free. And like I said, I already knew where this was going to go and what the plans were going to be, at least in my mind. I was going to let him fuck me until my brains were spinning around in my head. He looked at me in such a way that I knew if it wasn't already there, his mind would be on the same exact thing. It was going to be an anxious wait for that phone call, and it was. I had to keep myself busy, lovers, but my skin was tingling, my heart was beating quickly, and my breath would get caught in my chest because I just knew it was going to be that type of night, an unforgettable one. Have you ever met anyone like that? You just see them and you just know that there's that undeniable attraction, something that pulls you to them something that you can't explain with words, you can only feel it. Something. Have you ever felt that, lovers? It's intense. And you can't, no matter how hard you try, you can't deny it. And you can't turn it down. You can't turn it away. You can't turn it off. You just have to go with it. It sweeps you up like a tornado. And it spins you around, but in a deliciously sexy way. It makes you feel like you are in another place, a place of a place of pleasure so fulfilling, so almost completely overwhelming. But let me get back to the present, lovers. So eventually, the call came, and I prepared myself to go down a few floors to meet him in his room. I got into the shower and made sure that I cleaned and freshened up, because there was no telling where things would go that night, because I was open to any and all possibilities. I didn't even really dry myself off completely. I sprayed my perfume and I slipped on a very comfortable dress that was very easy to slip out of. I walked to the elevator with not necessarily a plan in mind, but almost a vision, you would say, of what I was going to let him do to me, because I planned on letting him do whatever he wanted. When I got to his room and he opened the door, he was still dressed in his business attire. He had a glass in his hand, and I could tell that he had already had a few drinks before I got there. So I had to catch up. So, of course, he offered me a drink and I accepted. He poured me a glass of tequila. Now, lovers, I never had tequila until that night. And I'm going to be honest with you, I tried to avoid it as much as possible, because I drank tequila and oh, Miss Kimmy Kins turns into I'll let you listen to the story so you can hear what Miss Kimmy Kins turns into when she drinks tequila. So I took a sip and then a big swallow and it was gone. Like I said, I had to catch up. So he poured me another drink. And I sat on the bed and we made small talk. Where he was from, what type of work he did, where I was from, what type of work I did, what were we doing in town, and places we had been, etc., etc. I had another drink. This time I sipped it more slowly. I was ready to get down to business, as one would say. I could tell that he wanted something from me, but wanted to be gentle in his approach, as though inviting a complete and total stranger to your hotel room for the evening to have a drink wasn't saying enough without saying a whole lot. But anyway, I decided that I would be the one to make the first move. I set my drink down on the table by the bed, and that dress that slipped off so easily landed on the floor. And he looked at me a little shocked, and he says, "What's going on?" And I said, "Exactly what you wanted is what's going on." And I took off my bra and I set these triple D's free. And the look on his face went from shock to satisfaction. I sat down and I started massaging my breasts, giving him a little show. And he in turn stood up and started slipping out of his clothes, still maintaining his gentlemanly demeanor. But I knew what that something was that I saw in him downstairs by the front desk. I knew it well because I had that same something in me too. It's an almost insatiable desire to push the limits when it comes to sex. It's the desire for pain and pleasure at the same time. It's ultimate satisfaction. It's something regular people don't normally try. It's letting a complete and total stranger have his way with you. That's exactly what it is. That kind of something. And I was ready to let the beast out. He came and he stood over me by the bed. He told me to stand up because he wanted to caress my breasts. So I did as I was told. He needed my breasts in between his hands and his fingers, and it lit a fire in me. I told him to pinch my nipples. He obliged. Harder, I told him. And he pinched them between his thumb and forefinger, and I let out a moan, and he pinched harder. I liked it. My pussy did too, because she was responding. He looked at me and he whispered, "Unbuckle my belt." My hands went to his buckle. I unhooked it and pulled his belt slowly out of the loops on his pants. And I held it up to him and I said, "Put it around my neck." He gave me a devious smile. And he said exactly what I had been thinking. He said, "I knew I saw something in you when we met downstairs. Get on your knees." You see, lovers, that's something. That something is close to the edge. I got down. I unbuttoned and unzipped his pants. My face was so close to his crotch that when his dick popped out, it hit the tip of my nose. He said, "Look up at me." I did as I was told, and he put the belt around my neck. He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes." He pulled the strap through the buckle. And he asked me again. He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes." He put the buckle into the hole on the belt. And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he pulled it tight. He pulled it so tight around my neck, and the feeling, it gave me the rush. I gasped, not because I couldn't breathe, but the pleasure I was feeling streamed through my body like a bolt of lightning. Put my dick in your mouth and look up at me. I happily put my lips around the head of his dick. He said, "Stop. Look up at me." Very stern all of a sudden, but very sexy. And he tells me, while his eyes changed, and he got this grin on his face, and he clutched his teeth together, and he says, "You remember you asked for the beast, because that's what you're going to get. No mercy, no breaks, only until I'm satisfied. Tonight, I'm in control. Understand?" I smiled. I said, "Yes, master." He said, "Good girl. Now gag on my dick." Oh, lovers. That moment, that moment, I became his, whatever he wanted me to be. I pushed my mouth all the way to the base of his dick, and I gagged just like he wanted me to. I made sure that I kept looking up at him as he looked down at me, as he pulled the strap of the belt tighter around my neck. And I was in so much ecstasy. I could have had an orgasm right then and there. And he saw the look on my face. And he backed up. He told me to get on the bed and bend over. I hesitated because I wanted to see just how far I could take this scenario. He told me again, get on the bed. I didn't move. He grabbed my hair. And he told me again, get on the bed. I still didn't move. I wanted him to have complete control over me, and I wanted him to make me do all the things that had been going through my head while I waited for him to call me. And finally, he gritted his teeth and said, get on the fucking bed. And he pulled my hair so hard, I popped to my feet. I smiled at it, and he says to me, oh, I see you're gonna like this little game we're gonna play. I said, yes, master. And I turned and I bent over on the bed, ass in the air, ready for him to do to me whatever he wanted. He twisted the belt around so that the strap was at the back of my neck so he could have a good, tight grip. I expected him to slide his dick into me, but instead he took his hand and he smacked my ass so hard. It made me jump and scream at the same time because it was like an electrical shock through my body. And he did it again. And I giggled. He did it again. This time harder. And he said to me, you're turning red. And I told him that was fine because I love marks, bruises, teeth marks. That turned him on even more. He told me to lay down on my stomach. And I did. And he got behind me. He bounced his dick against my ass cheeks a couple of times, and he kept pulling the belt tighter and tighter, and he would hold it so that I could barely get any breaths in. But I loved it. Did I love it? Every time he pulled that strap tight, it pushed me to the edge of something. And it felt so good. He told me to spread my legs. He spread my pussy lips, and I shook my ass a little bit for emphasis. He spanked me again, and he told me don't move. He put his dick inside of me, and my pussy was extra hot because he said, "Oh my goodness." And he took his time, and it was sweet for a couple of minutes while my pussy got adjusted to his size. And I finally told him, fuck me harder. But he didn't. He continued to tease me, sliding in and out of my pussy ever so slowly, just bringing the head of it right to the edge, right to the opening of my pussy, just letting it sit there, me squirming, him pulling on the belt every so often, letting me know that he was still in control. And finally, he slammed his dick back into me, and he almost made me come. He knew it too. He was teasing me on purpose. But that's okay because we were both enjoying it. Finally, he laid his whole body against me, dick still inside of me, and he just began moving up and down and back and forth against me. He put his hands around my throat, and he whispered in my ear, "This pussy is so good." I told him to choke me while he fucked me. And he slid in deeper and harder, still teasing me, still pushing me to the edge. And my breathing got quick. And he felt my pussy tightening on his dick. And he knew he was getting me there. And he stopped. And he just held it there, just dick inside me, hand around my throat, breathing in my ear. And he started up again. Slowly, so slowly, so slowly. And he started to raise himself up. And as he did, he took his hand away from my neck and he grabbed the strap of the belt. And he was up on his knees again, pulling the strap tighter and pulling me with him. And he started fucking me harder and grunting like an animal, like the beast that he was. And I moaned and I grunted and he growled at me. And we were like two hungry wolves trying to devour each other. Until he couldn't control himself anymore. And he pulled the belt even tighter. I almost lost my wind. And he pulled his dick out. And he told me turn around so he could nut in my face. And I did exactly that. I turned around, let my head hang off the bed, and he stood over me. And he nutted all over my face. He let me know he wasn't finished though. And he told me, you can't wipe it off. Stay just like that. He laid on the bed. And he told me, come suck my dick. Of course, I still had the belt around my neck. His cum all over my face. I told you at the beginning I was going to let him do whatever he wanted to me. And I got down between his legs and I devoured his dick. Like a ravenous lion. Gagging and choking myself. He wound the strap of the belt around his hand. And he pulled. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to be all bruised up tomorrow. And I just looked at him. He knew that's what I wanted. I wanted to be marked so people could know that I had been with a beast. He told me to stop sucking his dick. He wanted to fuck me again. He told me he wanted me to give everything to him. And I obliged. He got behind me once again. We both lay flat on the bed, him crushing me with his body, me not able to move. He stuck his dick in me again. Put his hand around my throat. And he started fucking me like some wild gorilla, grunting and his breath heaving, and me just in a frenzy. And he put his head close to my ear. I felt his lips on my shoulder. I felt his teeth in my flesh. He was biting me. I told him harder. 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 And the more I said it, the harder his dick got inside of me. The harder he pumped against me. The deeper he went inside of me. The more he growled at me. I was in such a fit of pleasure. I had goosebumps all over my body. And his breathing got quick. His teeth were still sinking into my flesh. And he gave me one good, strong, deep inside of this pussy pump of his dick. Ooh. And I started with an orgasm that went from my toes into my calves to the back of my knees, all the way up my back to the top of my head. And he was close behind me. It was so incredible, lovers. Even as I sit here talking to you, I can still feel that orgasm traveling through my body. You can imagine how the both of us felt when we were done. He just rolled off. I got up. I wanted to look in the mirror and see what kind of marks he left. The belt, of course, left behind a nice ring of bruises. And I smiled. I looked at my shoulder and 2 perfect rows of teeth marks deep in my skin. So deep the area was starting to bruise already. My muscle ached a little, but it was so pleasurable. He looked at me and he asked if I was okay. And I told him, of course. I said, when people see me, when they see these marks, I want them to know that I was at the mercy of my lover. I want them to know that I got fucked. He just looked at me and smiled, laughed a little bit. I'm sure he probably thought I was a little crazy, but there's nothing wrong with having a little pain commingling with your pleasure. Some of us go a little bit further than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us like being on the edge. I'm one of those people. I love being on the edge. It's where some of the best pleasures are. Wish I could tell you, lovers, that we fucked around all night, but the tequila got the best of him eventually. Plus the intensity of the situation. I can tell that he was a man that had something locked deep inside of him and he was never able to completely express it. Every time he fucked, he held back. But you see, with me, he didn't have to hold anything back. He could open the gate as wide as he wanted and go wild. Like I said, I was going to let him do whatever he wanted to me. And that's exactly what happened. I hope you don't think any differently of me, lovers. I'm just a woman who has that something. I hope you enjoyed tonight's little tantalizing tale. I'll see you next time for Sensual Saturday.